Welcome to the HuntLeague podcast, where we share hunting stories from the field that help pave the way for others to follow.
That was me coming in here saying, guys, we need to do something different, and we need to change the game when it comes to hunting knives.
This is your host, Jared Newman. Let's get started. All right, welcome to the HuntLeague podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Lucas Paugh from Hogue Hunting. All right, let's dive into knives. Over the last 20 years, I've experimented quite a bit with knives. And when I'm only field dressing and taking care of 3 to 5 big game animals, plus a handful of waterfowl and small game a year, it takes me a couple years to start settling into what I like, what I don't like, those kind of things. You've been doing this professionally as a guide. You're harvesting a lot more animals. You're getting into a lot of pig hunting. And if you got a knife that works on pigs, it's going to work on anything. So you have a lot more experience, so you know what you're wanting out of a knife. You were one of the people that kind of went in and helped develop these knives for Hogue. So I want you to tell us what you built, why you built it, what's special about them, because I'm actually really excited about using this in the field this year.
Sitting in front of you, you've got a plethora of knives. I was kind of in that same quandary. For years, I'd go out and shoot an elk, break down an elk, and here I've got like 2 pounds of knives. I've got a skinning knife, a boning knife, one with a gut hook, a saw, a scalpel, and it's like, man, this is crazy. Like all of these knives, and then I have to sharpen them midway. I've used a lot of the products, Outdoor Edge, Avalon, and to preface this conversation, I appreciate what those companies have done because they were really the pioneers in a lot of this replaceable blade technology. All we've done is basically taken a lot of what they've done, and I feel like we've just made it better, and we've made it in America, which we're pretty proud of here at Hogue. So roughly about the story, about 4 years ago, I was sitting going through my phone, and I was just selecting a bunch of different knives that I use. I was looking at weights, steels, and I said, I know there's a factory right down the street from my house, and I know one of the owners, and I said, you know what, I should just go in there and have a conversation about what are you guys doing around hunting knives? So Jim Bruin's one of the presidents of Hogue, and a little backstory of Hogue, 55 years in the industry. Like you said, overmold pistols. Guy Hogue, the original owner, went down to the LA Shooting Academy, helped law enforcement officers and them shoot better with putting different grips on their pistols, which in accuracy as being law enforcement, that's pretty important, right? Their shooting skills increase significantly. Accelerate 50 plus years. They're making AR tacticals, like you said, overmolds on stocks, 1911 grips, and then knives. And so they've been making kind of your everyday ED pocket knives for around 15 years, which, we all carry some form of pocket knife every day. I walked in here in the shop and I met with Jim and I said, hey, show me some of the knives that you guys use or would consider as a hunting knife. And, out comes this large serrated Bowie knife with big wooden handles. And I said, okay. I said, let me show you what the industry's using. And I laid down, a Benchmade knife. I laid down a Avalon. I laid down an Outdoor Edge. And I said, this is what hunters are using currently, right? And all those companies, like I said, Benchmade, MKC, Gerber, they all push each other and us to be better. And that's what I appreciate about those companies is we're all, trying to do something better. And so anyway, we started talking about building a scout together and multiple renditions of AutoCAD, DWG files going back and forth, ultimate design. We came up with a prototype, which I still have today, which is a board-based bone, was the first cut of steel that we made. That's probably seen well over 100 animals that I've skinned out with this, and I still keep it as a backup knife because it still works. It was our first rendition, which then led us into kind of the replaceable blade, scalpel platforms, which is this Expel. It's about 1.4 ounces. It's super light. It's made of 440 steel. It's actually heat treated, so this thing's not going to break. It's not going to bend. What's cool about this knife is it'll take any type of 60 or 70 blade that you can see. So a lot of hunters like the 60s with the drop point or the 70s with the rounded tip. But what's cool about this knife is it has the ability to both lock blades in place So there's a switch here that you can see that moves back and forth. And once you pull that slide back, there's a little ramp that that blade sits on, and all you have to do is push forward, and now you don't have to touch that blade. One of the biggest concerns I've always had in the backcountry is donning and doffing blades, and I can show you scars on my hands. Mineral use is one thing, but taking blades on and off when your hands are nasty or when blades are broke is a problem. And part of what we tried to do at Hogue was solve a problem, and that was to be able to get blades on and off without having to actually touch the blades, right? So this was really the start of what we were trying to do in the hunting industry with replaceable blades. And there were multiple renditions. There were two different prototypes that I used, which we never released. These are two different styles of ejectors that I used on multiple animals, where we finally came and locked in the IP and the patent on. We have got multiple patents on this actual knife here. But once again, the intent is that when you put this knife in your hand, it feels different. And there's more ergonomics built into this knife than most people know. And when people use it, they're like, wow, it feels different in my hand. There's push points, there's pull points, there's jimping, which is what you'll see is that texturing here. What that allows for is grip. So if you're using it, taxidermists love it because when they're using it in this form, there's jimping on the top for the index finger, there's jimping on the back side of the plate and on the thumb hold. So as you're doing fine work, you have really good dexterity with this knife. So this has really become what I would consider, our flagship model of a knife. And still today, you'll see a plethora of knives here. This knife never leaves my pack. I love this knife for what it is and what it does, and holding it in my hand is the reason why I love it so much. The blade popping on and off and the securement of it is just kind of, I would say it's gravy on the top. That's cool. But how this knife fits in my hand is why it never, ever leaves my pack. So that's the XPEL replaceable blade scalpel.
Now, when you carry that blade, just a question on that XPEL. When you carry that blade in your pack, do you carry it like I see it right now with a sheath over a blade? You always keep the blade on while it's in your pack?
I do, but you can easily pop off with the blade guard and you can store it like this. So it's, quite a bit smaller profile depending on where you put your knives in your pack. I've got a little kill kit that I have, my headlamp and stuff in, but yeah, you can absolutely transport it or carry it like this, or you can just pop the blade off and you can couple it like that and put it in your pack to where, like I said, it's a little more minimalist size. So multiple options.
I think the reason why I asked that would be if you have the blade on, just because a lot of those replaceable blades are relatively thin or brittle, and like in the pack, like I'm just wondering, like, do you have them snap in the pack?
I've never had that happen. But yeah, the weakest part of this blade is you can see where the steel gets compromised, where there's basically a pedestal where the cutout is on this blade. That's the weakest spot. That's typically where they break. Right there on the front inside of where the actual cutout is on the knife. I've only broke them using the knives, trying to break into bones, maybe probably overusing the knife for what its intended purpose is, but I've never had one snap in my pack in this configuration. So a lot of guys like storing them like this. Like I say, you can pop the blade off and store it without, and like I said, it drops the profile size in your pack. So
that's awesome. Under 2 ounce knife, that's unreal.
1.4 ounces. It's super light. The other thing about them is you can pull the scales off. So like on this one, you can pull these scales off and you can lighten them up even more. So for the guys that are like, super hyper ounce counters, you can pull these scales off on any of our knives. They're all universal and you can skeletonize them, or you can drop another ounce or 2. So I'm not one of those guys. I like this appeal to texture. It's a 10. I love how it feels in my hand and provides great dexterity. I mean, once again, it's there for real. It's there to prevent the knife from siphoning in your hand. But once again, get it down to just the frame if you want that. So
I've shifted personally on a couple things where I was a big ounce counter. I mean, I was even the guy that was like taking just the top of a toothbrush, like on those electric toothbrushes. I would just take the top and just use that just because it was like I wanted everything as small, as light as I could. the last couple of years, I've just realized like there are certain things that the trade-off is just worth it. It's a better sleeping pad for me. I'm not sleeping as good deep in the back country as I used to. So like carrying some extra weight there to like sleep better, that's a thing. And then the knife thing, I used to try to get those really ultra skinny, ultra light, thinking that, but my hand would start cramping because I was trying to squeeze such a tiny blade and put pressure, and I preferred having a bigger grip. Now, a bigger grip is relative. Like this grip, where you can barely get your hand around it. That's not what I'm looking for. Even this grip, which is a custom knife, this is a little bit thicker than what I feel like I need. But skeletonizing isn't the ideal for me, but I really like what you guys have done specifically on this because it's still very thin profile. But like what you're talking about with the dexterity, the grip, and how you can get your hand on it, it's really well designed. So keep going. I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. So modularity is a part of the function in the field. Like I said, scales on, scales off, blade guards, no blade guards, kydex sheaths. That's the cool thing about everybody likes it. If I want to wear it on my pack, I can do that. We're seeing now with this knife more. We're going to talk more about this extract as an EDC. Guys are wearing this on their hips now because they love the profile of it, to your point. So, so basically to complement this knife, there's a lot you can do with the scalpel. And some guys will tell you, all I bring to the field is a scalpel. I don't take anything else. That's great. Everybody's different. You talk to 10 different guys. I like a fixed blade. I like a gut hook. I like serrations. I like scalpel. It just goes on and on. So to complement that scalpel, we came up with this design of a very similar to I would say a smaller profile drop tip point fixed blade called the extract. And this blade weighs in at like 1.8 ounces. So when you couple these two together, the weight of these two are still lighter than taking your iPhone out into the field, right? So thinking about what's important, we were trying to build and design a system that was ultra lightweight, that guys that are going on sheep hunts that are counting every single ounce they have, or a guy that maybe even driving on a road and a truck shoots an elk off the road, there's not anything in North America you can't break down without these two knives. And I'll prove that because these two knives have broken down buffalo. I broke down a muskox in Greenland with these two knives. And there's nothing you can't do in North America from a size-wise of an animal without these two knives. Let's talk about this extract. So this is our number one selling knife in the Hogue Hunting line. This standard, it's a 3.3 inch drop point, and we call it the extract. For a value in what you get in terms of quality, it's hard to beat. So we can talk price points later, but it is quite a bit cheaper than some of the other competing knives. We offer it in orange, and we also offer it in a Cerakote black. Now, question, why do you have to coat these? So the steel, that choice that was used for this, we actually experimented with some different steels. All basically steel is, it's iron and it's carbon, essentially at its base metallurgy. We started testing M4, which is a high-speed tool steel. It's a higher carbon content. It's got less chromium in it, so it's not a stainless. Okay, people talk stainless. It's got stainless properties, but the quality, the hardness, and the toughness of this, die makers, punchers, a lot of tools are used out of M4 steel. So it's super tough steel. We experimented with it. We beveled it. I took it out and used it. And I think I went through 4 or 5 pigs and 2 elk with one knife without even having to do any type of honing. And I realized we had something with this steel. It's got higher vanadium in it, but it's got less chromium. It's going to corrode more resistantly than, I would say, like a stainless steel. And we're going to talk more about MagnaCut. So, and we also coat them because guys like orange, right? Hunters like orange.
I need orange.
Yeah.
For visit.
You can still lose them. Trust me. I've left a few in places that I never thought I would, but having the orange gives you a little bit better advantage if you leave it in the snow or near the animal that you can find it. So we do coat them in orange, but again, really the coating, not only from an appeal standpoint, but it also provides corrosion resistance because M4 is just, like I said, it doesn't have great resistance to corrosion properties. But the upside to it is its edge retention, its toughness. These are heat treated, cryogenically heat treated and hardened to a super high Rockwell. These have become really a superior knife in our line. People have realized that. This was actually awarded as one of the Blade HQ's Knife of the Year in 2023. There were a multitude of fixed blades. This one made it in there, so that was cool to see. But again, just from a standpoint, it's ultralight. It's super packed with the blade guard in your pack. You've got 5 ounces of knife there. Like I said, there's not much you can't do in North America without these two knives. And like I said, these two have become pretty much my go-to. A lot of the tactical world we're liking these. So a lot of the military guys wearing them with Kydex sheaths, a lot of their tactical gear on packs. Absolutely. Same knife, same properties, just a different coating. And same quality, 100%. These things are incredible in terms of what they do in the field. I don't go anywhere without this knife as well. And like I said, like testament to me is when I was able to cut through 4 or 5 animals with this without having to do any type of rolling, honing, chopping, whatever. I knew that we were onto something with this steel. So yeah, awesome knife. You've got one. I'm curious to get you back this fall from you. You go out and to the test, but feedback so far is people love this extract that, like I said, that we've been really proud of, and we think is definitely something that's going to continue to be a big seller for us in the future. So
Absolutely. I mean, again, it was one of those things. As soon as I walked by the booth at SHOT Show, I was like, whoever designed these knives is a hunter. The other thing that I really like and appreciate about what you said there, not everybody is super comfortable sharpening a knife. Like, it should be a skill that all of us as outdoorsmen practice the same way that we practice, with the rifle, with a bow, or these other things. Sharpening a knife, it's an important skill. I question sometimes when I'm doing it, like, am I doing this right? I hope I'm not screwing up a blade. And that's why the replaceable blade knives have become such a huge hit and success, is because people that are out in the field and they don't want to retouch up their knives and they just want an instant razor back again, they can just swap that blade. But that M4 steel, being able to go through 3, 4 animals without having to professionally sharpen your blade, that's a huge advantage. And especially for somebody that doesn't feel confident or comfortable sharpening their own blade out in the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was the premise when you talked about, these knives are designed by a hunter. I mean, that was me coming in here saying, guys, we need to do something different, and we need to change the game when it comes to hunting knives. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Is these are a product of a lot of feedback, a lot of animals tested on. Some of my buddies here, they're local guys, local coast. I mean, you're talking hundreds of animals that different steels were tested and used on until we really found the right metallurgy and formula for what we consider, today, a superior product. And I'm not going to say that it's best and it's the best steel, because every steel there's a steel compromise. We're going to talk more about Magna, great steel, but there's things Magna has that M4 doesn't have. There's things that vice versa, and so it's always trying to find something that's better. But at the same time, if I can go through an animal and not have to touch it up until I go back. The other plug for Hogue is you send your knives in. We'll sharpen them, lifetime warranty. So that's another cool thing. But when you talk about sharpening, that's a science. To your point, like knowing the right angles, dropping versus sharpening versus honing versus touches. I mean, there's a multitude of things, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to good steel and having good edge retention, and that's feel like we have a little bit of a edge, no pun intended, is the tool we use because of the actual edge retention that these knives hold. And like I said, there's no better test rounds than some of the animals that we hunt here in California, and just consistently just performing no problem without them having to stop midway and having to put if the edge having to put a little edge back on it. So yeah, pretty cool product. So
talk to me about this, because I feel like Magna Cut is probably like the 6.5 PRC or the 7 PRC right now. It is the hottest thing, people are talking about. It's a relatively new steel. Talk to me about some of the properties and the differences between those and why somebody might choose one over the other.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So one thing I want to show you is we talked about the extract, which is the CPM M4, right? And we've got basically its bigger brother. So if you look at these two knives, profile is very similar. This is the Extract XL. It's about 50% bigger than the actual Extract, and we actually do this in the CPM Magna Cut, and we do it in D4. But the reason, people ask me, well, which one would you rather have, one or the other? And it really is application. It doesn't look like a lot, but when you look at how much more surface area you get with the XL on animals, having a little bit more blade is nice to have. I'll be honest. It's going to be a little heavier. I think it's like 2.1 ounces, so we're still in that pretty lightweight category. Almost identical, similar profile. Profile is just about 15% bigger. Let's talk about Magna Cut. So Magna Cut is right now the buzz steel. Point. It's the 6.5 of the gun world. A lot of companies have jumped on the Magna Cut wagon, and for good reason. And we did too for a lot of different reasons. Magna Cut is relatively newer. Laren Thomas, who's a PhD metallurgist, probably one of the most widely known metallurgists in the world, developed Magna Cut steel, and it was really on a premise of, we want to build something that's a premier steel that does everything pretty good. And that's what Magna Cut is. It's got higher percentages of chromium in it, so it's got stainless property, which is great for corrosion. Right? These are hardened to probably not quite as hardened and heat treated to a level of an M4, but they are tough. They have, I would say, above average edge retention in terms of what Magna Cut provides. I think M4 is a little bit more superior steel in terms of edge retention, toughness, and what it does. But once again, the trade-off is with this, you don't have to coat it. So the stainless elements of this knife allows it to be resistant. What you're seeing a lot with the salt stuff now, like Benchmade's doing a lot of their stuff, they're doing it in Magna Cut because you don't have to coat the knives. And the one issue that you'll find where corrosion becomes a problem is actually on the edge. So one thing with our M4 extracts is if you ever see any corrosion, you'll see it actually on the edge. That's the only part that's not coated, right? With Magna Cut, you don't have to worry about that. And we tested it. I used these. I was able to R&D our Magna Cut series last before we went live with them. We used these on two tools we had harvested, and I identified that steel was good. And we were happy with it, and we just wanted to add a different element to the hunting line, right? Sometimes certain things appeal and they sell. And if you were to ask me, is M4 before than Magna Cut or vice versa, I would say they have their pluses and minuses. But we also offer that same knife in the XL in the M4, which is the same knife coated in orange and just with the M4 steel. So, completely different steel, but profiles are identical. We also offer it black coating as well. And then this one is an example I showed, just you can skeleton them. But once again, exact same profiles, scales are interchangeable. If you want scales off of this one or your extra, they're all the same. All the profile in your hand, which is pretty cool. This Magna Cut one is considered a tumbled finish. So what we do is after it's heat treated, it goes into a tumbler, like if you were doing brass. Same thing. It cleans it, gives it a tumbled finish. It goes in, it gets beveled. From there, we've got a hand sharpener. One thing about Hogue that's different, I think, about a lot of different companies, every knife that you're seeing here goes through at least one or two individuals. There's 4 different belts that they use to put edges on these knives. So they're all hand sharpened. And done in-house, which I think is something that's pretty natural. These are not in a machine where they're actually going through a machine and getting sharpened. Every single knife that leaves our facility probably touches around 10 to 12 people's hands, working hands, here in the US, and is sharpened here in our shop. that's pretty cool and something that we're pretty proud of. So
So I love the fact that, all right, at the end of a season, I can send this back and you guys are going to touch it up.
yeah, I mean, so there's one to two people that basically do all the sharpening here in the shop. Then you're going to get a quality person, go back through it, look through it, make sure there's no defects, no X, there's no problems, and then be sent back out. So yeah, I mean, multiple hands here touch these knives. If you ever get the chance to come out here, the factory tours are pretty cool because it goes to show from basically a blank sheet of steel till the finished product gets there, the water jet cutting, everything about it. It's such a cool process, and it's really what intrigued me to start working with Hogue was family owned business, been in business for many years, down the street from where I live, just good people, and and they have high standards in what they release in their products, and that's just the kind of person I am. I want something that's not going to fail in the field, and also something that I know is going to last me, right? And that's what you get out of a Hogue.
Congratulations on designing something this amazing. Now, just to jump back, the M4 it's more susceptible to corrosion. When we're saying that might sound intimidating for somebody, but if they think about it, it's like it's actually going to probably be more corrosion resistant than somebody's rifle barrel. It's going to be more corrosion resistant than a lot of other things that they're already doing. And so what you do with a rifle barrel after you come in from a hunt, you'll clean it and you rub a little bit of mineral oil or some type of gun oil on it, and that's going to prevent any kind of rust and corrosion. So what do you recommend for just maintenance on M4 knife?
My maintenance is every time I use one, when I'm done, I clean. I go and I've taken under water. I clean the blade off. I dry it immediately, and I put it back in my case. And I never have any issues with corrosion. Now, a lot of people aren't like me. Use a knife, throw it back in their backpack, and they may not look at it for a couple months. If that's the case, and there's a little bit of moisture, you may see a little bit of surface. Now, the one good thing about that is that's not going to pit the blade. It's not going to actually be like a pitting rust that we're actually going to dig in. So a little steel wool, or just like you said, take some oil, rub that rust off. And the other thing is just putting an edge on it. If you've used it and it needs to be re-edged, send it. Or I plug Sharp. There's a multitude of field openers that Work Sharp has that I keep in my pack. One side's a diamond pre-cut angle, cut 20 degrees. The other side's ceramic. All I do is hit each side 3 times, and I can knife right back if I need to, if the edge rolls. So so oil works. Put a little edge back on it. But yeah, that contact rust is not going to fit into that M4. So there's not a concern with integrity of the steel or pitting or microchipping, which can be a problem with knives. So.
Yeah, Work Sharp is the best. I mean, I've met with them. They're up in Oregon, so they're not too terribly far from you. And they have some tools too. Like if somebody wants to be really specific with the angle, it's not just like you're trying to hold, because even some of those things will say an angle and then you're trying to put that angle. Work Sharp has things where you can lock the tool in and then rub, a 20 degree, a 17 degree, a 25 degree, 30, like you have all of those different options, and they really help the consumer. So if somebody hasn't looked into that, is a 20 degree edge kind of the edge that you guys are putting, your kind of final edge is a 20 degree roughly?
That I would say industry standard. We're more 18 to 19. A lot of it is based on usability and what you're going to do. Cutlery knives could be down in the 17 degree. Hunting knives typically are anywhere from 18 to 20 degree. So really it's usability. Fillet knives can be a lot of times it's 15 to 16 degrees. So it's really really they're used for, and what we've found is that 18 to 19 degree is probably what we see as one less edge retention, but also these knives are razor sharp, and everyone that gets them, the first thing they say when I made that first incision, I was just impressed at how easy that cut, and it just continued to cut and cut and cut. And by the time I was done with the animal, I was like, it's ready to go again, and I don't have to do anything with it, right? That's where I think like I say, we really pride ourselves with these fixed blades is not how sharp they are, but how well they retain their edge. But yeah, 18 to 19 degrees is typical. Once again, this is sharpened, so this is not with a guy that's sitting it on there and doing it pre-cut. Like this is one of our techs that's using belt sanders, and he's putting on 4 different belts to hone, to sharpen, and he's doing it because it's done hundreds of thousands of them. He just knows where to put the edge on them.
Yeah, he's got a
Yep.
feel for it, and I can tell you his feel works because I pulled this knife out, and if you want to see it shave some arm hair or something like that, or just take a piece of paper, I mean, it'll just right through. So I don't really want to waste the blade on paper, but like, holy mackerel, is it sharp. All right, so you got a new knife. You've talked about the X-Track. You've talked about the X-Pel. This is an X-Pel folder.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. I want to make sure we highlight it because, we designed the X-Pel and it's like I said, great functionality, solid, lightweight, but we got feedback. Like to your point, well, when I stow it in my pack, it's longer. I like folders, blah, 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 blah. So what we came to last year was basically taking the principles of the X-Pel, building it into a folding scalpel. Now, what you'll see here is these are the same the steel ply G10 scales that you'll see on any one of our other knives. So it's got the good dexterity. So there's a flipper here. The flipper allows you to flip the blade open. Okay. The whole intent of this knife is to build a knife where it's contact free, where you don't have to touch the actual blade. Okay. There's a spine lock right here. The spine lock releases the blade to a 90 degree. What happens is that flipper that you can see, you can kind of see it right there. That flipper that's sticking up not only is a flipper, but now also becomes an ejector, where when you flip in, and I'll show you how these work. You can put it into a blade dispenser, or pop that flipper, and now you've basically got 100% contact free, where you have to actually touch the blade to doff the blade. Okay, blade dispenser. Where this is cool is you can load 5 blades in the field. You can go in and basically set this like that. The flipper pops up, pops out, and now you've basically put on a new blade. And I've never had to actually touch the blade during the process. Doffing the blade goes back to 90. We find a sharps container, pops it in, and you never have to touch the blade. So this to me is what we would consider the game changer, and what we're trying to do in terms of replaceable blades. It's eliminating the guys who got Leatherman's pliers to the field, deal broken blades off. This will do all that without having to actually touch the blade. And like I said, it's a super cool concept to where you can put it in your pack. I like to put mine harness, so I have it. It's got a clip on it. I mean, I've been even carrying one just to have it. And 1.5 ounces, super lightweight for the guys that love folders. Right? I mean, once again, USA made, great quality products. Like I said, same pedestal platform will accept any 60 or 70. Any type of blade, X's, XTs, A's, any of the blades out there, except those do this knife again in both the orange and also in the black. Some guys like the black. A lot of the hunters like the orange for what it is, right? Because it allows you to be able to get in the field. But yeah, just a super cool knife. The blade dispenser. You can bring 5 blades to the field with you and have basically this set with a fixed blade, and to use the iPhone, it's still than bringing your phone into the field from a weight standpoint. So,
question for you on it though, just watching you operate it. So like when you kind of started to sling it down and get it into the 90 position, it seemed like it kind of hit like a lock point where so it kind of sticks. Now, do you have to re-engage another thing to keep it, or is it just pressure from there to close it?
Good question. The way it works, there's basically a ramp, and it's hard to see, but this flipper rolls up on top of a ramp. It's a machine part in there. What that does is it lifts and it frees the blade. So when it gets to that point, it stops at 90. Now, you can give it pressure to put it back and close it, but when you take it to 90, it stops, and the ramp there that loads on, and all you got to hit that flipper, which frees the blade. So it's a machined, engineered part there, which is again another of our IP that we have on this blade to protect the patent on it and the intellectual property. But once again, allows you to lift and flip that blade on the pedestal to where you pop the flipper, it releases the blade. sure cool having it. To me, it's a fidget. Like when I'm driving, I'll just sit and I'm driving and I'm just doing this. Like I'm trying to get one of these to fail. Like I can't tell you how many times I've flipped one of these driving on a road trip, and they just continue to work so well. They're super clean. The way the knife pops out or the blade pops out, the way that it gets ejected, right, is cool. It's just like I said, it's just a cool little fidgety knife. And once again, it checks all the boxes for the backcountry guy and the hunter, and are looking for another alternative, something that's a little different than our fixed frame steel style of scalp. So yeah.
Now, I know some of that is just going to be personal preference. Is there any preference that you have between the fixed and the filler? Like I give you my preference only because after it has to do with cleaning blades more than anything, not necessarily use in the field, but the folders have more nooks and crannies and stuff where you get sinew, blood, and other stuff kind of stuck in there. So I was folder. I had this Vital that I was showing you earlier. I was a folder guy because I thought I liked how compact it was. But what I found was, man, you got all this slot space and stuff to kind of get in, and it can kind of gum up the knife a little bit. So I've more towards the straight, say a fixed blade because it's a fixed replaceable blade knife. But what are your thoughts on that? And I know you have a mechanism in order to release the blade, which you can gunk and junk and stuff like that, even more or less the fixed. But do you have any preferences or thoughts on that, just based on the design?
Absolutely. I mean, my preference, and I think I talked about it, is the fixed XL for a lot of reasons I talked to earlier, but this knife, just intrinsic in what it does and the value, and never having touch is pretty cool. Now they both have the property of operating the blade, which that's the cool part, right? But to me, the actual functionality, usability to me is in the hand. And I do a lot of caping. I do a lot of like caping animals for taxidermy stuff like that. So using this knife is great. I'll tell you, I mean, I one of these on me all the time, and it's a cool knife. It does tend to collect maybe a little bit more gunk, but that's all in maintenance. And that's what I tell guys. I'm like, you use it, just spend 10 seconds, take a little toothbrush or something, clean it out, dry it off, no problems. But a lot of people use them, throw them back in their pack. So they do require maintenance. There's no question. It's like a vehicle. You got to change them. You got to maintain them. But at the same time, my preference still is the fixed XL for a lot of different reasons, but both of these are still on my person when I field, because I like having this in my harness. If I drop my pack and this is in my pack, and I hit an animal 2 miles from my pack, I can still break that animal down with this knife. So you don't even know it's there, because like it's an ounce and a half, so it's super lightweight. So
well, like in my look, I love the way you just said that. Like keeping that one, I would keep like. Again, like this is years of experience working with different knives and what I like, what I don't like blades, the shape of a blade, all of that stuff. I think looking at it, like I would do that XPEL folder, really keep it handy as like a carry type knife when I'm in the field, because it does have that blade. Since it is universal with the other one, I've been a two knife guy in the last several years, where it's like I've got my replaceable and I've got my fixed every going with me. I think you could even convert me to potentially a 3-blade guy, because I'd probably keep the fixed and then the original like XPEL fixed in my kill kit, and then probably at 1.5 ounces carry that folder as in my bino harness and quick access to something, and knowing that those are interchangeable. Like I'm not having to swim up and do different parts. It's like those work for me, and having tools in the field that work in two different scenarios is always a benefit with backcountry hunting.
No, that's where I'm at. Like these 3 knives, these go in my kill kit. This on me as a person, and sometimes I'll wear my extract with the Kydex sheath on my pack. We're actually working on molded sheath right now. That's going to be released here in another month or two. Molded's going to lock in. It's going to have a different clip on it. So I'm very much I would like a 3 knife person now. But yeah, the fees, even with a dispenser, are under 5 ounces. Like it's crazy, like weight really doesn't become an issue. Now it's a matter of function and what I'm looking for. Look at your point, like with this belt clip, you can thing in your pocket, put it somewhere, and you don't even know it's there. And if you ended up not bring blade dispenser for at least have 2 blades, and there's probably, you can probably get through most of anything with scalpel blades and a fixed blade.
Man, I absolutely love what you guys have built with these knives. These knives are going to be huge for hunters. I'm excited about the M4 because of being able to go through an entire elk without having to do anything. This year, my son's got a deer tag in September, an elk tag in October, a deer tag in November. I got my big elk hunt, and I got an elk and elk tag this year. So I'm assuming between those handful of tags plus the different guys out of state that are coming and helping them, we'll probably end up putting to the test and saying, all right, see how it does through animal number 1, animal number 2, animal number 3. When's the first time I need to touch it up?
We got here because of consumer feedback, and I played a role in this because I've used them a lot. At the end of the day, like, feedback is actually what makes these better. And a lot of times, what Jim tell me, he goes, I don't want to hear what's good about it. I want to hear what the problem is. Like, what's the problem? What don't you like about it? And so that's what we want to know. I don't like how it fits in my hand. I don't like the dexterity. I don't like how the blade does this. I don't like the point. The point digs into the meat. Blah blah. Like, all those things got to the point where these are at today. So use them, abuse them, and give them feedback. And that goes for anyone that's listening to this podcast. If you've got a few knives or interested in them, please feel free, open line. We want feedback. Like, that's what makes these better, and that's what makes us better, and that's what makes hunting knives in the industry better, is just continuing to raise the bar to try to make a better and a superior product for guys that are getting after it in the future, or guys that may only do one a year, right? There's no discrimination on what type of hunting you do. A good knife is a good knife, and the reality is every hunter needs a knife in his pack. So hopefully we continue to make good products and continue and be one of the leaders in the industry of hunting knives.
I love it. Well, this knife, or maybe the winner's choice, something like this, because I guarantee people are going to say, all right, where can I wear this? I'll say not this place to get this, but maybe the hardest place to play this is going to be to win the Sweet September League, which is the Archery Elk League inside. So somebody's going to have a story. You don't have to kill the biggest. You might not even have to kill something at all to have a story, but one person is going to win a brand new Hogue Hunting knife inside the Sweet September League. So I'm excited. That season is easily already started. We start that because we allow that to be your scouting. You got people in California that are hunting in July, August. I think probably just kicked off a couple days ago. So we call it Sweet September. It's the Archery League that's going on right now. But outside winning this inside the Archery League, inside the HuntLeague app, how do people get their hands on this Hogue Hunting knife?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways. I mean, we've got social media outlets that's specifically Hogue Hunting, Hogue Inc. brand. Hogue knives are kind of their own entity. We rebranded Hogue Hunting about a year ago because we felt like it needed to stand alone. So we have a website, hoguehunting.com. That's direct to consumer. That's where you'll find them. I also want to plug our outfitter program. So guys that are listening, that are guides and outfitters, these essentially become like essential tool every day to what you do. We have a guide and outfitter program that we're seeing a lot of success with, where you can sign up. There's a electronic form online. Submit your guide, your license. Once it's approved, you'll get industry pricing at 25%, which is basically our dealer pricing too. So you can get any of our knives at 25% off. So we're trying to train people. It's pistol grips and pocket knives. Now it's hunting knives. So
well, give me a month or two, and I might have some photos to add to your collection. But I absolutely can't wait to put this to use in the field this year. At the beginning, we can talk pricing, because we've talked about all these different knives. This is a made in the U.S. product, which typically means got a little bit of a higher price point. So you're not talking about a made at Walmart knife. you're all dealing with premium steel, which is hard to cut. It's harder on tools, harder to sharpen. You have man hours. You have a lot of things going into this knife. And I'm saying not to intimidate the audience, because I can't believe how economically priced your knives are, knowing the value and knowing everything that goes into it. I mean, even when you say, look, 4, 5, 6, 10 people touch your knife before the knife leaves this building, there's a cost to every person that's touching that knife. When you guys are selling these knives for what you're selling them for, and the value, the quality, I think you're absolutely hitting an exceptional proposition. So a little bit of pricing, just so somebody listens and goes, okay, I at least understand the ball. What are we coming in at?
Yeah, so when you talk about value, that's where I think we feel like we excel with our competitors. Is what you get, the price and the value is what I would say it's a superior product. On our scalpel lines, a replaceable blade. So the different scalpels we have, the folding scalpel, XPEL, and then the standard, both available in orange black. The folding scalpel, I believe, is $124.99, and the actual regular XPEL scalpel is, I believe, around 105 or 199. So once again, is it more expensive than a Havalon or an Outdoor Edge? Yes. Those are made in China. These are made in the USA, right? When you start comparing us to the USA made scalp brand companies, we're super competitive in terms of pricing there. Talking about our fixed blades, I think are even more of a value based on the price of the two fixed blades that we have compared to our competitors. So the Extract standard 3.3 is $199. Once again, available in the orange or black. The Extract XL, which is available in all three or all two of the steels, both Magna Cun and the M4, is, I believe, around $215 or $215.99. So once again, not to compare to the other companies that are making fixed blades, but check out some of the other companies that make USA made fixed blades. You won't find a knife in terms of value that's your price will do what this one will do.
And it's not even that close. Like, it's hard to find those knives in this ballpark that are under 300, but your typical price point is somewhere probably between 320 and 400 for something that you're really getting this level of value, size, and how specific designed it is for a hunter. I'm excited to see that evolution. You've already brought, and I feel like you've helped kind of up the standard. Like, where do you go from here? And I already know you're working on new iterations and new designs. Lucas, thank you so much for joining us on the HuntLeague podcast. I'm really excited. I mean, I feel like you dropped a lot of information. Like, people that are looking into knives are going to learn a lot from this. And I can't wait for HuntLeague users to get their hands on these knives from Hogue Hunting. Lifetime, you send it in, get it resharpened, anything you need. But whether you're looking for a replaceable blade or a really great, I mean, these are heirloom quality, the steel that you've put in. These are knives that you're going to be able to pass down to your kids, kind of a thing. This is really well done. So thank you for joining us, Lucas. Any final words before we sign out?
When I say we've only just started, we really only have started, and it's going to be fun. Going to see where all this goes. So, but thank you again for having us.
I appreciate it. If somebody wants to follow you or find you personally, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you? You're a guide and an outfitter, and there's probably going to be some people who watch us and say, hey, man, I wouldn't mind one of those Thule hunts one day in California.
Yeah, so I mean, my Instagram handle's my name, Lucas.Paugh, Pauh.805. 805 is our area, is our road where I live. So that's probably the easiest way. My email is Lucas, Lucas at Huntin Fool, so HUNTINFOL.com. So just you can find me. I mean, if you my name, you'll probably see stuff online. So I've got a page at Huntin Fool as well. So yeah, get a hold of me, shoot me a message on Instagram, and would love to get in contact with you if you have questions about the knives, the products, how they work, questions about hunts. I'm an open book, man. I'll tell you everything I know, given the opportunity. So feel free to reach out to me.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Look forward to seeing more of these knives in the field here soon.